When the crisis strikes and you are in your shelter, the greatest threat to your survival is not the crisis itself. These are the mistakes you make in the first 72 hours that either ensure your safety or make you a target. My name is Zach, and I have been training since 2012. Today I will tell you about 20 critical mistakes that even experienced preparers make when hiding, and more importantly, how to avoid each of them. I understand you have stocked food, you have a water supply, perhaps you even have a safety plan. But here's what no one says. Shelter is not just about having resources. It is the skill to use what you have without drawing unnecessary attention to yourself. This is what we will discuss today, so stay with me. Some of these mistakes may surprise you. Let's move on to the first mistake that catches more preparers than anything else. This is a demonstration of readiness. I'm not just talking about social media posts about your supplies, although it's better not to mention that either. I speak of the subtle ways you show you are ready when no one else is. In 2014, I learned this lesson firsthand during a severe ice storm that left our area without electricity for almost 2 weeks. My neighbor, a great guy, had a new generator running around the clock right in his yard. In 3 days, people he barely knew began to come to him, asking to charge their phones, store medicine in the fridge, and connect an extension cord to his home. On the 5th day, someone attempted to steal his generator. At the same time, I had a generator too, but it was in the garage, and I only turned it on for a couple of hours each evening when it was truly necessary. No one knew we had electricity, no one disturbed us. That's the point. Every visible sign of readiness is an invitation for desperate people to knock on your door. The rainwater collection system in your yard signals to everyone that you have water when they do not. Solar panels on the roof are essentially a billboard proclaiming that you have electricity. The neighbors notice the truck delivering large supplies and remember it. What should they do? First, make your supplies invisible. If you have solar panels or a rainwater collection system, place them so they are not visible from the street. When you bring supplies, do it after dark or drive into the garage before unloading. This is critically important. Stop discussing your preparations. I don't care who it is, your best friend, son-in-law, or training partner. Extra words not only sink ships but can also lead to a crisis situation. The second mistake is directly related to the first, and I see it constantly. It is leaving obvious signs of presence. When everyone around is suffering and the situation worsens, you cannot look as if everything is fine. Think about what your home says about you to a passerby. If every second house on the street is dark and yours shines all night, what does that say about you? If the grass in other yards is overgrown and yours is still well kept, what signal are you sending? You show everyone that you have resources that they do not. This is where the discipline of light comes into play. In the absence of electricity, any light coming from your house after sunset resembles a beacon in a storm. It attracts attention. You need blackout curtains, not regular ones, on all the windows. And I mean every window, including that small window in the bathroom that you think no one will see. During the day, you can open them to let in natural light. But as soon as the sun begins to set, everything must be tightly closed. Use minimal lighting indoors and keep it away from windows. Even during the day, you need to think about what people see. If the crisis drags on for weeks, let your yard grow a bit wild. Don't become the only house with neatly trimmed grass. Let some litter accumulate by the curb, like everyone else. I understand that this contradicts your inner desire to maintain order, but in a crisis situation, blending in with the surroundings is a matter of safety. You want to look as affected as everyone around you. Mistake number 3, and it's very important. The smells of food. You will be surprised how far the smell of food spreads, especially when no one else is cooking. I remember during a prolonged power outage in my neighborhood being able to smell who could still prepare a hot dish from 3 houses away. And believe me, hungry people notice this. Here's what happens. You sit at home, you have supplies, you think, why not eat well, right? So you set up your camping stove or grill and cook bacon, onions, maybe a pot of chili. The smell will spread from your windows, under doors, and through the ventilation. And every hungry person within 100 yards will feel it and wonder why you eat so well while they do not. The solution is to prepare dishes that produce minimal smells. Rice, beans, oatmeal. These foods are your friends. They are filling, nutritious, and do not inform the neighbors that you are feasting. If you absolutely need to cook something with a smell, do it late at night when fewer people are awake. Or cook in a way that preserves the smell better. For example, boil instead of fry. And ventilate well. Don't just open the windows and let food smells spread outside. Another tip is cold dishes. I know no one wants to eat cold food for weeks, but listen. There are many nutritious foods that don't require cooking. Canned goods, protein bars, dried fruits, nuts, peanut butter. You can do perfectly well without hot dishes and completely eliminate the problem of odors. Save the hot dishes in case you really need to lift your spirits. And even then, act wisely. Before we continue, I want to share something that will significantly improve your preparation strategy. I understand how overwhelming it can be, especially when you're trying to figure out how much food to stock up and what exactly to buy. I prepared a completely free guide that explains in detail how to turn $50 into food supplies for 90 days. Yes, you heard it right. $50. This guide contains an exact shopping list with specific brands and prices, 37 essential items that most people don't even think about, as well as a simple storage solution suitable for both homes and apartments. Moreover, I will show you emergency dishes that can be prepared without cooking fuel, which relates to what we just discussed. The link to the guide is in the description below or in the pinned comment, and it's completely free. No tricks, no credit cards. Just send me your email address and I'll send you the guide. It will save you time, money, and relieve a lot of stress. So, let's get back to the topic. Error number 4. Spending your resources too quickly. This is one of those mistakes that creeps up unnoticed because in the moment, it seems quite reasonable. When a crisis begins, you experience stress and start using supplies in the usual way. But here is the problem. You do not know how long this crisis will last. I learned this during my first serious attempt to prepare in 2013. I stocked up, as I thought, enough food, about 3 weeks worth. Then a situation arose where I couldn't get to the store for about 10 days. Nothing serious, right? Wrong. I didn't start rationing, ate as usual, and by the 8th day I was left with only scraps. I realized that if the situation dragged on any longer, I would be in serious danger. The main purpose of your supplies is to buy you time, not to maintain your current lifestyle, but to preserve your life and functionality until the situation stabilizes. This means that from day 1, you need to be in energy-saving mode. Determine the minimum number of calories necessary to maintain your energy and activity, and stick to it. For most adults, this is about 1,500 to 2,000 calories a day, depending on the level of activity. The same goes for water. Drink as much as needed to stay hydrated, but now is not the time for long showers or continuous dishwashing. Every drop counts. Save fuel, whether it's propane for your stove or gasoline for the generator, as if it's a matter of life and death, because it is. Use it only in extreme cases. And always ask yourself if there is a way to accomplish the same task without exhausting your limited resources. Here is a practical tip. On the first day of your preparation script, sit down and count. Count your supplies, assess how long they will last at different rates of consumption, then choose a conservative pace and stick to it. It's better to leave some food when the situation improves than to run out while things are still bad. Mistake number 5, and it's a serious issue that people only think about when it's too late. The lack of a waste management plan. I will be honest, when the toilets stop flushing and the garbage trucks stop running, you will have a real problem, and it will worsen every day. Human waste, food scraps, packaging. All of this accumulates quickly. If you have no plan for disposal, you risk facing health threats that can undermine your well-being and that of your family. Moreover, garbage and waste attract pests, rats, flies, stray animals. They not only irritate but also spread diseases. As for human waste, you have several options. If there is still water in the toilet but the system doesn't work, you can manually flush by pouring a bucket of water directly into the toilet. But if there isn't enough water, this is not the best solution. A more practical option would be to use a camping toilet with bags and chemicals, or even 5-gallon buckets with lids and sturdy bags. You can add cat litter or sawdust to each bag to control the smell. After filling, the bag needs to be sealed tightly and stored in a place away from living areas and water sources. This should be considered now, not when your toilet becomes unusable. Stock up on sturdy trash bags, cat litter, or wood shavings. And if possible, get a portable camping toilet. Trust me, it's worth it. As for regular trash, you will need a sorting system. Everything that can be safely burned should be burned if you have a safe way to do so, like a burn barrel on the property. Organic waste can be composted if you have space for it. Everything else should be sealed in bags and stored away from living areas. Don't let trash accumulate inside your home. It's not only unpleasant, but also dangerous. Mistake number 6 is neglecting safety from the very beginning. Many people are mistaken, believing that in the early days of a crisis, everything will be relatively calm. They think they have time to establish security measures, define the perimeter, and develop a protection plan. But this is not the case. In fact, the first 72 hours are when you are most vulnerable. At this moment, everyone is in panic. Desperation reaches its peak, and people make impulsive decisions. If your home looks like an easy target, you may face problems before realizing the seriousness of the situation. Your security system must be ready before the crisis begins and activated immediately. This means you must know where all the entry points in your house are and how to reinforce them. Doors should be equipped with reliable locks and, preferably, the ability to barricade them from the inside. Windows need to be protected, especially those on the ground floor. A simple wooden stick in the guide of a sliding window or door can prevent them from opening, even if the lock is tampered with. But security is not just about locks. It's also about awareness. You must be aware of everything happening around your property at all times. If you have a dog, even a small one, it's a huge advantage. Dogs hear and smell things much earlier than we do. They will warn you about the approaching person, giving you time to assess the situation and act. If you have the opportunity, a video surveillance system would be a great solution, but remember that it requires power. Solar cameras can be effective, but consider a backup option. Motion sensors are another good choice. Even in the absence of electricity, battery or solar lamps can scare off potential intruders and give you a signal. And here's something many don't think about noise. In a quiet setting, when there is no electricity, sound travels far. Keep items that can make noise when moved. These could be breezes at the windows, gravel paths around the house, or even empty cans on a string. These simple solutions can be as effective as expensive security systems. Mistake number 7, to act alone. I understand the appeal of the survivalist mentality of loners. You don't need to share resources, you don't need to worry about others' mistakes, and you don't risk being betrayed. But here is the reality. People are social beings. In a long-term crisis, isolation can be as dangerous as an external threat. When I first began to prepare seriously, I kept everything a secret. I thought that the fewer people who know, the better. And although there is some truth to this, I soon realized that I was putting myself at a disadvantage. I could not watch over my property around the clock, could not protect it from multiple sides at once. To be honest, the mental strain of doing everything alone was exhausting. The key to success is finding the right balance. You don't need to advertise your resources to everyone, but it's important to build relationships with a small circle of trusted people. These can be relatives, close friends, or even neighbors whom you have checked over time. The goal is to create a network of mutual support where everyone brings something useful. Perhaps you have food supplies, while your neighbor has a medical education. Perhaps you have security skills, and your friend down the street has a water source. By combining resources and skills, everyone's chances of survival increase. But importantly, these relationships need to be established before a crisis. You cannot wait for everything to go wrong to suddenly start forming alliances. By then, it will be too late. Start building those relationships now. Get to know your neighbors. Offer help in small ways. Show that you are valuable in difficult times. Pay attention to those who are reliable, balanced, and share your values. They will be there when times get tough. Mistake number 8 is forgetting about lighting discipline during the day. We have already discussed how important it is to turn off the lights at night, but what about during the daytime? It's a mistake that people constantly make, thinking, hey, it's daytime, the sun is shining, what's the harm in opening the curtains and letting in some natural light? That's where the danger lies. When people walk by or look at your property, they can see what's happening inside. They can see your supplies, equipment, living conditions. If every house in the area looks empty or looted, and yours is inhabited and well furnished, you send a signal. And it's not the signal you want. During the day, it's better to keep the curtains or blinds in a way that light comes in, but no one can peek inside. Sheer curtains can help, or you can tilt the blinds so that light enters from above, while the view from the street is blocked. It is also worth noting what can be seen from outside, even if the curtains are closed. Do not place supplies directly by the windows. Do not leave equipment or weapons in sight in places where someone might peek. Another thing that people forget is shadows and silhouettes. At night, even with black curtains, if you have bright light inside, it can create shadows that are visible from outside. A passerby might notice the movement of shadows and understand that you are inside. Keep the lighting in the room dim, especially near the windows, and avoid moving in brightly lit areas where your shadow may be noticeable. Mistake number 9, and this mistake is subtle but important. It is the inconsistency of the appearance of your belongings. When a crisis occurs and drags on for days or weeks, the surrounding landscape begins to change. Lawns go untrimmed, trash accumulates, and houses start to look abandoned, or at least neglected. If your property does not conform to this template, you will stand out. I'm not saying you need to turn your yard into a dump or let your house fall apart, but it's important to strategically consider what your property conveys. Если у всех остальных трава по колено, а у вас свежескошенный газон, это говорит о том, что у вас есть время, силы и ресурсы, которых нет у других. То же самое касается и другого обслуживания. If you are washing the siding or trimming the bushes while everyone else is in trouble, you attract attention. The goal is for your property to look lived in enough that people don't think it's abandoned and ripe for robbery, but not so well kept that it seems you are thriving. A bit of strategic neglect can be very helpful. Let the grass grow a little. Leave a few leaves uncollected. Perhaps you could even place a few empty boxes or bags by the roadside to create the appearance that you have already been robbed. One of the techniques I use to make my house a less appealing target is to board up a window as if it were broken and needed to be secured. Leave the old broken device in your yard as if you had to take it out. These visual signals suggest that your home has already suffered, or that you are struggling just like everyone else. It's not about making your house destroyed, but about making it look unremarkable. Mistake number 10 is the assumption that the crisis will be short-lived. This is probably the most dangerous assumption you can make. When something bad happens, our natural instinct tells us that it is temporary. Electricity will return tomorrow, stores will restock next week, help is already on the way. But what if it is not so? What if the crisis lasts for weeks, months, or even longer? I often observe this approach among new preparers. They stock up on food and water for a week or two and think that this is enough. After all, how bad can it really be? But here's the thing. Catastrophes that will likely keep you at home, such as economic collapse, a pandemic, or prolonged power outages, are not resolved quickly. This takes time. If you enter a crisis expecting it to end quickly, you will make poor decisions. You will deplete your resources too quickly. You will take risks thinking you need to hold on for a few more days. You won't take safety seriously, believing that order will be restored soon. And when the crisis does not end within the expected time, you will find yourselves unprepared. Instead, approach each crisis with the thought that it may last a long time. Make decisions as if you are in it for the long haul. Strictly allocate resources from day one. Immediately take measures to ensure safety. Save every resource as if you will need it for months. If the crisis turns out to be short-lived, great, you will have extra. But if it drags on, you will be in a much better position than those who assumed everything would be resolved quickly. This shift in thinking is of great importance. It influences every decision you make, from how much water you use to brush your teeth to whether you will help a neighbor in need. When you think long-term, you make wiser and more sustainable decisions, and this will help you survive. Mistake number 11 is the lack of a communication plan. When the electrical grid goes down or cell towers are overloaded, your phone is likely to stop working. And even if it does work, who will you call? Emergency services will be overloaded or may not function. So how will you communicate with family members who might be in different parts of the house, with your mutual aid group, or just stay informed about what is happening? Here, many preparers make a mistake. They have food, water, and safety measures ready, but they haven't thought about communication. In a crisis situation, information is power. You need to know what is happening beyond your immediate area. Are the roads clear? Where are the danger zones? Is help on the way? Without information, you make decisions in the dark. A solution is having several means of communication. Two-way radios, such as FRS or GMRS radios, are inexpensive and do not rely on infrastructure. They work in direct visibility, so they are best suited for suburban or rural areas, but still better than nothing. AM radio becomes even more useful if you have a license and equipment, as it allows communication over much greater distances and receiving emergency messages. But what many forget is that it's necessary to have a communication plan with your family and group. Where will you meet if you get separated? How will you signal each other? What backup plans do you have if the main communication method fails? All of this should be discussed and rehearsed before a crisis occurs. One cannot sort this out on the go when people are in a panic. And do not forget about passive information gathering. A battery-powered radio or hand generator can keep you informed about news and emergency messages. Even in a situation of a complete power outage, some radio stations will still broadcast, at least for a while. Knowing what is happening in the world will allow you to make more informed decisions about your situation. The 12th mistake, and I wish more people understood this, is the lack of a medical plan beyond basic first aid. A well-stocked first aid kit is great. Bandages, antiseptics, pain relievers, all of this is important. But what will happen if one of your loved ones falls seriously ill or gets injured? What if someone breaks a bone, gets an infection, or has a chronic illness flare-up? In a long-term situation when shelter is needed, professional medical help may be unavailable, hospitals may be overcrowded, or the roads may be too dangerous. This means you need to be prepared to handle medical situations that usually require a doctor's intervention. I am not saying you need to become a surgeon, but you need more than just basic first aid knowledge. Take a wilderness first aid course or a combat medic course if possible. These courses will teach you how to handle serious injuries with limited resources. Learn how to properly clean and treat a wound to prevent infection. Understand the signs of shock and ways to treat it. Know how to make a splint for a broken bone or treat a serious burn. This knowledge can save lives. And stock up on medical supplies beyond the basics. Antibiotics, if you can get them, although I understand it's difficult without a prescription. Painkillers, not just over-the-counter ones, but something stronger if possible. Sutures, Israeli bandages for stopping severe bleeding. Tourniquets, chest seals. I know this sounds extreme, but in a real critical situation, they might be needed. Also, if someone in your house regularly takes prescription medications, you need to have a supply. I understand that insurance makes it complicated, but talk to your doctor. Explain that you want to have a reserve in case of disasters. Some doctors are understanding about this. For life-saving medications like insulin or heart drugs, having an extra supply for 30 or 60 days can be a matter of life and death. Error number 13. To use a generator without considering operational security issues. Generators are a wonderful thing. They can provide power for your refrigerator, support medical equipment, charge devices, and generally make the crisis more comfortable. But they are also loud. They smell of gasoline, like a neon sign saying, "I have energy and fuel." I know a person who continuously used his generator during a long power outage. He stood right in his yard, working day and night. After a week, people he didn't even know started coming to him, asking to connect, buy fuel, or just charge their phones. Some were friendly, but others showed aggression. In the end, he had to hide the generator in the garage and run it for only a few hours a day to keep people away. If you are going to use the generator, you need to be careful. First, keep it out of sight. Run it in the garage or shed, in some enclosed space. Make sure to ensure good ventilation, as carbon monoxide can be deadly, but keep the generator sheltered. Secondly, use it